going to be talking about nouns in Spanish. And first of all, we just have to kind of review what a noun is. A noun is a person, place, animal, or thing. I think that's probably pretty basic for you guys. But moving on in that, one thing that's really different in Spanish than we have in English is that nouns have a gender in Spanish. All nouns are either masculine or feminine, and that is certainly something that we've already talked about because we're really familiar with how to do singular nouns, but we are now moving into plural nouns. Just as a review, most nouns that end in an O are masculine. There are very few exceptions to that. El libro, el chico, um, pretty much anything you can think of that ends in an O, including males' names, if you think about that. Manolo, Nacho, those are all boys' names and they end in O and they are masculine. And again, in terms of femininity, almost all nouns that end in A are feminine. La carpeta, la chica. So here you have some other examples. El libro, la calculadora, and one small exception is el día. It ends in an A, but it's masculine. The one that I hear all the time is la mano. We talk a lot about washing our hands right now. La is feminine, but it ends in an O. But there are very few exceptions like that. Other Spanish nouns that end in an E or a consonant, okay? So those are a little bit harder to figure out because they don't end in A or O. For example, el cine, el marcador, la clase, la televisión. Some can be both masculine and feminine. For example, el estudiante is a boy student, but la estudiante is a female student. To make nouns plural, you usually add an S to words ending in a vowel and ES to words ending in a consonant. So it's very easy if it ends in a vowel, you just add the S. So silla, one chair, sillas, two chairs or more. Teclado, the keyboard. Teclados, more than one keyboard. Cartel, one poster. Carteles, two posters. Now look what we had to do there. Because it ended in the consonant, L, we had to add the ES instead of just the S. And that's one of the plural rules. There's three main rules, and you've just learned two of them. One is if it ends in A or O or any vowel, add an S. If it ends in a consonant, add an ES. There's a third rule that we'll get to in a minute. And there you go. Singular nouns that end in a Z, change the Z to a C in the plural. Here's an example. El lápiz becomes los lápices. So again, this is the third rule, and it's really important that you remember it because it's kind of funky. If it ends in a Z, take the Z out and add CES. El, la, los, and las are all of the plural definite articles. In English, they mean the. So if you're saying la mesa, you're referring to a particular table or the table. We use el and los with masculine nouns and la and las with feminine nouns. Now, we're going to look at indefinite articles. The masculine forms are un and unos, and the feminine forms are una and unas. Indefinite meaning we're not referring to a specific one. Una mesa, a table, not la mesa, the table when I'm referring to a specific one, but una mesa, a table. Un and una mean a or an in English. Unos and unas mean some in English. Una y unos are masculine, and una and unas are feminine. It's a good idea to learn a noun with its definite article, el or la, because that will usually tell you the gender. And I know you have another video that you're going to do, an Edpuzzle, and it talks about this as well. But in Spanish, we use the article almost always. I know in English, we drop it. We'll just say, oh, I want, I read books. But in Spanish, we almost always say, I read the books. The article is in almost all of the sentences. And of course, you want to start practicing it with the article because that also helps you to remember if it's masculine or feminine. So I hope this little introductory lecture helped you. And after this, you're going to be doing 2 Edpuzzles to make sure that you learned this concept. Thank you very much.